Anchors up, sails at full. Welcome to the SlooPcast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing all right, Jared. How are you?
Not going to complain, not going to complain.
You sure? You don't want to complain even?
Oh, no, I want to complain. I want to complain about so much. So much I want to complain about. But almost none of it has to do with college football or this podcast. So we're not going to go down. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole. But I want to complain about so much. Just everything that's happening in the world.
All right. I think that falls under one of our rules here.
Yeah,
Jared,
it does. It very much does.
In our Discord channel, which discord.thesloopcast.com, always be plugging.
Yes.
We are here, SlooPicks, week 5. Week 5 of our picks. We have 6 games to talk about. The 7th game is the Ohio State one. So if you want to listen to our input on the Ohio State game, check out yesterday's episode where we talk about Ohio State and Sparty. So first up here, 6 games here. So we're gonna head into another Friday night game. We picked a Friday night game last weekend. Turned out to be a really good game.
And the week before that.
We're going to stick to this trend here and pick another Friday night game.
This is at least the 3rd week in a row for Friday night games that we've had on the SlooPicks. At least the 3rd week in a row.
Washington going coast to coast, heading on over to New Jersey to take on the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers. 8 p.m. kickoff on Fox. Again, Friday night. The Scarlet Knights are a 1.5 point favorite over the Huskies.
This is being played in Piscataway, New Jersey. And I only point that up because I like saying Piscataway. It's fun to say. And I know how to say it, which is a rarity on this show, that I actually get to pronounce something correctly.
That is a plus. It is set at 1.5, but the line has gone up by a single point. Just want to note that. Who do you got, Jared, in this matchup?
I have a rule, and that rule typically says when in doubt, go with the underdogs. However, I think that with it being a Friday and it being a 3-hour trek for Washington, and Washington already being a little this year, and Rutgers looking pretty good this year, although not necessarily impressive, but solid. Gonna go Rutgers. I mean, our line is 1 point, 1.5 points, but 1 point. You don't often see the game decided by 1 point. It happens, but not often. So I'm just going to pick the winner here, and I think the winner is Rutgers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to pick Rutgers as well too. Rutgers has a pretty good defense here, and to the points of what Jared mentioned as well, on the road, in a short week. The only way this could have made it worse is if it was like a noon game, but obviously they're not going to play noon on a Friday. But yeah, I like Rutgers' defense. They're sneaky. I don't want to use good, but they're better. They're better than they have been in the past.
They're solid.
They're solid.
They're a solid football team.
All right. This week's picker is a long time.
One of the longest
supporters of the SlooPcast here, Suncard here is picking this week, and he has sent us the following. It is still hard for me to see Rutgers as a respectable team, but they actually are.
Yes.
Rutgers chops or swings an axe. Rutgers chops or swings an axe or something and wins by 7.
I think that's Wisconsin and Minnesota.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I was thrown by the axe. You said Rutgers, right?
It should have been a sword. It should have been a sword.
They're knights. It might be a mace. It might be a spear. I mean, I guess it could be a battle axe. He did say Rutgers, right?
He said Rutgers wins by 7.
Okay.
So yes. All right, second game here. Big 12 action. Noon game on ESPN Saturday. Oklahoma State taking on Kansas State. In this game here, Kansas State is a 5.5-point favorite.
Am I going first? You going first?
I will go first here. I was kind of going back and forth because I've seen how good Kansas State can be, but then also saw how bad they were last weekend as well. And Oklahoma State gave Utah a run for their money to Utah last weekend as well too. So is this going to be the Kansas State team that's going to be able to score a little bit more points to keep up with Oklahoma State here? But I don't really trust the passing game for Kansas State here. So I'm going to pick Oklahoma State to cover in. I think they'll outright win this game. So I'll take the Cowboys.
I agree. This is peak Big 12 behavior. What we're going to have is a total round robin of victories. So OK State lost last week, so it's their turn to win against the conference favorite this week. So you'll have Oklahoma State beat Kansas State. We'll get a whole round robin going, and we'll have like a 3-way tie at the top. That's how the Big 12 always seems to shake out. And for that to happen, feels like Oklahoma State has to win this football game. So yeah, I totally agree with Kyle. I like Oklahoma State not just to cover, but to win. But hell, if you're going to give me 5.5 points to take who I think is going to win, I'm going to take that points.
All right, and Suncard here says, fun fact, I was born in Kansas. Did not know that.
Wouldn't have expected it either.
Yeah. That being said, I have Oklahoma State keeping this one close and possibly winning, so I will take the points.
I hate when we all agree.
Yeah, so we're going to be wrong.
Yeah.
All right, second noon game here. Fox, this is your Gus Johnson special. Jared's Golden Gophers on the road to take on Michigan.
Not my Gophers.
Yep, they are Jared's Golden Gophers. Michigan is a 9.5-point favorite over Jared's Gophers here.
Not my Gophers.
What do you got in this one, Jared?
See how much fun it is when the other person participates in the joke? Exactly, Spikes. I got Minnesota. Everyone's going to be all hype up on Michigan because they beat USC last week. I get it. We only thought USC was good because they beat LSU, but we have since seen that LSU's fake good, which we can then translate to say that, like, you know, USC's probably fake good because not only does their LSU win not necessarily look so impressive all of a sudden, but they also lost to Michigan, who we all know is shit. I'm sorry, and that's not just me being an Ohio State fan. We've seen them struggle against Fresno State. We've seen them lose already this year. I don't believe in Michigan, and I do not, I want to state this for the record, I do not expect Minnesota to win this game. I do think Michigan wins this game. But with the spread being over 2 scores rather, at 9.5 over 2 scores, I'm going to take Minnesota. If this was like a 6.5, I may have taken Michigan. 9.5, I'm going to take Minnesota. Jared, yeah. Minnesota gave up 4 touchdowns to Iowa. And?
I was just about to say that. Yeah, Minnesota's going to struggle moving the ball. If it's anything like what we saw Michigan did with USC last weekend, maybe they'll have a down weekend this week and kind of let up a little bit. Maybe, but I got to go off of what I've seen from both Minnesota and Michigan and past few weeks here, and I do not trust Minnesota being able to do anything at all. Minnesota struggles to run the ball, and then they're going to go against Michigan, who does really well in stopping the run. Yeah, I'll take Michigan to cover.
I'm going to point out that Spikes felt the need to clarify that they were offensive touchdowns, which is only a thing you have to do with Iowa.
All right.
Yes, I was just making sure that the viewers and the watchers. I know that was the point, Spikes. I was bringing the viewers and the watchers in on the joke.
All right. Suncard here says, does Minnesota have a pulse? I sure hope so, because the uniforms are the same color as the team up north played last week. Maybe they sleepwalk their way through the week and lay an egg on Saturday. Out of principle, I'm taking the boat, guys. I am picking Jared's Golden Gophers.
Not my Gophers. Also, it's really insulting to USC to say that they and Minnesota have the same colors. Like, I get it, but no. Absolutely not.
All right. Our next game here.
Minnesota has some of the worst colors in college football aside from Clemson. The purple-orange combo is maybe my least favorite in all of sports. Yeah. But Minnesota's bad.
All right. Our next game here, Jared, we will cover after this quick ad break here. So if you want to support Jared and I with the SlooPcast podcast here, head on over to thesloopcast.com where you can find all of our lovely links. Patreon.thesloopcast.com. If you will become a patron to support the podcast, head on over there. Or if you're not into that and you want to buy some merch, merch.thesloopcast.com or even 7071.thesloopcast.com if you're not into the podcast merch and just want to buy some cool Ohio related stuff there. Check that out. A lot of other great links over at thesloopcast.com where you can find all those links and more. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and take a quick ad break and be right back.
Kyle, I cannot believe that you picked Michigan.
I know.
I'm just teasing. It's fine.
I know.
I'm just teasing. Are you? Yes.
Are you?
Yes.
Are you? Really?
Yeah.
You sure?
I am. Yep.
Positive?
Positive.
You're not mad at me?
Yeah, I am, but for other reasons.
All right. We're moving on to Jared's Golden Gophers. Oh, wait. We already did that. Louisville.
Not my Gophers. See how much fun it is when the other person participates in the bit?
Louisville.
That might be why I'm mad at you.
Louisville taking on Notre Dame. This is also on the Peacock channel here because, it's Notre Dame. You're not going to watch them anywhere else.
Sure. Is that
Notre
a thing?
Dame, I don't know. Notre Dame is a 5.5 point favorite over Louisville here. I believe it is my turn here. I really wanted to pick Notre Dame here.
You did?
But man, this just feels like the game. I know they've already screwed up once. I know they've already lost a game that they should have won. My gosh. Like I feel that Louisville will be able to pass the ball around Notre Dame in this game here. So I'm going to pick Louisville here to keep it really, really interesting. So give me the Cardinals.
I like Louisville to both win and cover. I win and cover for Louisville. And this is a rank on rank, so that's not a chaos theory pick for the record.
Fun stat, Jared. Their leading running back here, running backs have only 19 and 16 carries for the year. Louisville.
Interesting. Very interesting.
They have five running backs that have more than 10 carries.
Also interesting.
just something. It is
sure.
interesting, but
interesting.
But But let's find out what else is interesting is Sun Card's pick here. And he says, I can see Notre Dame being in search of style points and attempting to run it up on Louisville. He says he picks Notre Dame by 14.
Okay. I'm still caught up on the fact that he was born in Kansas. Like he lives out on the East Coast. I won't say specifically what state because I don't know if he wants me to say it. He's born in Kansas. I've yet to figure out why he's an Ohio State fan. I've never asked because where's the fun in asking? But he's an interesting character, so because he's cool. That's actually a valid point. His tarot cards may have told him to be an Ohio State fan.
All right. Moving on to...
Is there a tarot card that's just a Buckeye tree? The tarot knowers, let me know in the comments.
All right. Next game here, Georgia and Alabama.
Georgia and Alabama.
7:30 kickoff. This is pretty much a pick 'em, but on paper here, it has the Bulldogs as a 1.5 point favorite heading on over to Tuscaloosa. Fun fact, Jared.
Yeah.
Did you know?
I do because you put it in the Discord earlier today.
You're
I'm sorry.
supposed to play along here.
I don't know, Kyle. What is it?
The last win for Georgia over Alabama in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, was in 2007.
Now,
back when Stafford was the quarterback for the Bulldogs.
How many times? So back when the SEC East and the SEC West was actually a thing, which was just last year. One was in the East, one was in the West. How many times have they played in Tuscaloosa in that? Because it's not like it was every other year the way it would be if they were in the same division, if that makes sense. So it has been since 2007 since Georgia won in Tuscaloosa, but how many opportunities have they had is my question to you.
Since 2007?
Yeah.
Let's see.
How many times have they lost in Tuscaloosa since 2007, I guess is the more precise way of saying that. I can think of a fourth way to explain it while you look it up if you need me to think of a fourth way to say it while you look it up and I vamp for time. Once.
One.
See? So no offense, Kyle, but that kind of lost its luster. Critical thinking, man. You gotta ask the follow-up questions. Gotta ask the follow-up questions.
And that was in 2020.
That doesn't even count.
And Alabama beat them 41-24.
Nothing happened in 2020 that matters. I said it. I'm taking Alabama. I mean, it might feel obvious to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway, to win and cover. 1 point. That's 1 point, right? I think all of the off-field shenanigans with Georgia are this is where, it's not like they've played total cupcakes up to this point, because they haven't. But, they had a close game against a Kentucky team who's not nearly as good as Alabama, even a post Nick Saban Alabama. This is a team that's had a lot of self-induced off-field distractions during the offseason, and I think even once already during the season. I think a distraction-filled offseason finally catches up with Georgia in this game. Alabama wins. Alabama covers. Give me the Crimson Tide.
Mm-hmm. I agree with Jared.
Alabama struggled with USF though too. Alabama always struggles with USF. That's a thing. It's like Ohio State struggling against Purdue. It's just expected.
I got Alabama. Weird. I got Alabama as well here. One thing, like looking at the two teams here, Georgia Georgia's not as effective on the ground so far this season. And even with the teams that they've played, Clemson, which they had success, against Clemson. Tennessee
Clemson
Tech,
sucks, and no recent results are going to convince me otherwise.
Mm-hmm. And they played Texas Tech, which it was a blowout there. But then looking at Kentucky there, like they struggled. They struggled quite a bit against Kentucky, and only putting up 13 points to them. And Alabama is doing everything that they need to so far this season. They completely, on final score wise, they've been blowing out teams here as they should, while Georgia recently hasn't here. So in Tuscaloosa here, and Georgia is favored. Yeah, I'll pick Alabama.
I mean, it's 1 point per, where CBS locked it in for our sloop picks. So it's not much of a favor, but hey, who knows? It could matter in the end.
It says it's now Georgia. Well, it's the same. It says Georgia 2, but 1.5. It's the same. So
yeah.
All right. Sun Card says big statement game here for the new coach in town. Can he deliver the goods? Georgia squeaked out of Kentucky, but don't find a win here. Bama by 7.
Oh boy, that's all three of us again.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Kyle. The game that we maybe didn't expect to be a game during the offseason, but maybe actually kind of looks like a game in the Big Ten this year.
Yeah. Raise your hand if you predicted this game to be a top 20 matchup.
No, sir. No, sir.
We got two Big Ten undefeated giants going at it.
I have said since the beginning of the SlooPcast, which is either 9 or 10 years, depending upon how we ended that argument last week, that Illinois is a sleeping giant. There's no reason for Illinois not to be a good football team, other than the fact that they haven't been. Illinois should be a good football team. They should have the resources. They should have the talent base. Is Burt the guy to do it? Or is this just some recency bias? I'm eager to find out. I think Illinois is a sleeping giant. I've said it for 10 years. They just need momentum. Illinois just needs momentum to be a legitimate college football team. And
this is a 7:30 kickoff on NBC.
Bum bum bum.
It is in Happy Valley here.
State College, PA.
17.5 for Penn State.
Too many points.
I must be missing something. Like I have no idea. I have no idea why this number is so high. And I'm looking at the number now. It's gone up to 18.5 now.
Penn State has run up the points against some bad teams in recent weeks. I mean, we did put them back into A tier on Collegiate Chaos on Tuesday.
They did against Kent State, but let's look at the previous MAC team that they played.
I know. I'm well aware. Was that Bowling Green they struggled against? Is that who that was?
Mm-hmm. It was.
Can I play the to be fair game for a second? LSU also struggled against Bowling Green last week.
Fair.
Maybe that's a Bowling Green thing. Maybe those Falcons are actually kind of good. I don't know. I'm not going to say that, but maybe the Falcons are actually kind of good.
Are they the best
brown and orange
team in the country?
They're the best brown and orange team in all of football. I'll tell you that much.
Best brown and orange team in the state of Ohio?
All of football, Kyle. The entirety of the American football sport.
All right. If that says anything, I got Illinois. I got Illinois to cover here.
Bowling Green would kill the Browns. And I'm obviously being super serious when I say that. Yeah, I do think Penn State wins this game. Don't get me wrong. I might be buying into the Illinois hype a little. I might be playing it up a bit for the podcast. I might be playing up my Illinois hype a slight amount for the podcast. I do think Penn State wins this game, but 17 feels like a ton of points. I do expect Penn State to win. I expect Penn State to win by 2 scores even.
Yeah. I really like
9, 10, 11, 12, 13 points, but 17?
Yeah,
Piscataway.
I mean, I really like Illinois' quarterback, Luke Altmaier.
Yeah, I do too.
Very accurate. He's over 71% completion. He has 10 touchdowns, 0 interceptions for the year.
I watched him for the first time. Kyle talked about we had a barn burner for our last Friday night pick for the SlooPicks. It was that game. This is the first time I sat down and watched Altmaier throw the ball, and I was very impressed.
Last year, he only threw 13 touchdowns and 10 interceptions last year. He's off to a hot start compared to last year. And
who did he play for last year?
Illinois.
Oh, was it? I thought this was his first year in Illinois. Was it?
No, his first 2 years were at Ole Miss, and he transferred to Illinois last year. And he's almost at half the yards that he had last year already.
Yeah,
so he's off to a hot start here. Drew Aller has had like so much hype with him.
A lot of that's been from me.
Medina, Ohio. Here, we thought he was going to come in and do really well.
That's a lot of Jared-led hype, if we're being honest.
But he's just struggled. He's just kind of missing the mark here, and I don't know what it is here. So I'm going to pick the hotter quarterback here, and I think this is going to be a dogfight, and Illinois may have a chance to win this game.
So you are taking
Illinois as well?
Oh yeah, I picked Illinois. What does
Yeah, he's a big game. Franklin always has his team ready to turtle.
By the way, just real quick, I'm not sure because I looked this up, and maybe it's because I do like Drew Aller. Just sue me. 41 completions on 58 attempts, 70% completion percentage, 730 yards, 8 touchdowns, only 1 interception. I'm not sure where you're getting that Drew Aller is not having a good year, or that he's having a
that was severely inflated from his Kent State game where he was like over 80% completion, and the other 2 games he was barely over 60.
Yeah, but he did throw 3 touchdowns against West Virginia.
Okay.
Was still almost 65%. I mean, okay. I don't know. I might be a Drew Aller apologist. I'll own that if that's the case, but I think you're being too harsh.
All right, that's fair. So Suncard says, big game Franklin always has his team ready to turtle. This isn't the game Brett put 9 offensive linemen on the field and ran power 43 times. And won a few years ago. I'll take the guys in orange with the points.
All right, Kyle. We already picked the Ohio State, Michigan State game. I'll go ahead and slide the coins ceremoniously. We, of course, did that on the Thursday episode of the Sloopcast called Know Your Enemy, Michigan State. If you want our detailed thought process on that game, go ahead and listen to that episode. And since I'm already kind of doing an ad, let's go ahead and kick it over to the ads. When we come back from the ads, we're going to pick our chaos theory pick. And if you're new here, we will explain to you what a chaos theory pick is, but we don't need to do I do want to throw the graphic up real quick just because I spent a lot of time making it. Graphic. But yeah, we're going to do the quick ad break, and we will be right back. All right, Kyle, it's time for chaos theory. If you are new here, Chaos Theory, here are the rules. You must pick an unranked team to defeat a ranked team. The points you get are the inverse of the losing team's rankings. For example, last week, Z-Spikes picked Kansas State to lose. They did in fact lose. This is a terrible example because 13 translates into 13. So 13th place gets you 13th point, but please, that's an outlier. That's just only the number 13 does that. I picked Missouri to lose because Missouri was ranked. Missouri was ranked seventh. Yes, thank you, Kyle. 7th. Missouri's ranked 7th. Therefore, that would have.
I know math's hard for you.
You have every other time you've tried to determine the point value for this, you've messed up on the show. So I don't want to hear it. I have a cheat sheet. I don't need to do mental math. There's a cheat sheet in the top right-hand corner of the graphic that's on the screen. I will zoom in on it if you need me to.
Okay.
You want me to?
It's all good.
All right. So the point is that, like, for example, the 7th ranked team is worth 19 points, or I should just say that the 1st ranked team is worth 25 points and the 25th ranked team is worth 1 point. That's a lot easier to understand. I don't know why I just don't do that all the time. You get the point. You understand.
All right. Since the guest speakers are winning, let's start with them. Let's start with them here. They had some card says here the cop-out answer is Baylor over BYU. So to have some real chaos, I have Wisconsin over University of Southern Central.
Of South Central? That's a joke, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a joke. USC.
Yeah. Yeah, I looked at that. I looked at the BYU game, but as he correctly points out, that's not worth much points. I think that's a super solid pick if you're just trying to get any points.
To get on the board, maybe?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that pick makes a lot of sense. But as he points out, BYU, what is BYU ranked?
22nd.
22nd. So 22nd only would have been worth 4 points.
Mm-hmm.
13 is our number. I like it, says Spikes. Yeah. Second week in a row, the guest pickers are picking number 13 for 13 points. It's their lucky number, weirdly. I think there's like 5 pretty good options. Right. And I think that picking Wisconsin to beat USC is one of those pretty good 5 options. I think there are 2 options that, to me, based off of not necessarily likelihood, but value, if you're trying to get a lot of points, I think that I'm gonna go. What is happening here? Sorry, having some Photoshop problems. There we go. I'm once again going to shoot for the moon. For the second week in a row, I'm going to predict the 7th team in the country to lose. However, this time that team is Miami. This is on a Friday night, so we're going to find out real quick if I get on the board or not this week. They are facing Virginia Tech. Now, if you haven't been paying attention to Virginia Tech, let me give you a quick synopsis of what Virginia Tech has done this year. You ready to play along? You ready to have some fun? Sure. Let's talk about Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech lost to Vanderbilt in week 1 in an overtime game. We've seen Vanderbilt since then actually play some really good teams really closely. So Vanderbilt may be better than we thought, but they lose to Vanderbilt. They defeat Marshall, allowing 14 points, which is, to be noted, the same amount of points that Ohio State let Marshall score. in a 31-14 game. They defeated Old Dominion in non-spectacular fashion, sure. Then they lost to Rutgers, but they only lost to Rutgers by 3. And as we pointed out earlier in the show, Rutgers is, despite the fact that they're Rutgers, actually a really solid football team. So despite the fact that Virginia Tech is sitting there at 2-2, not necessarily all that impressive. I like the chaos that a Friday night brings. I feel like the disruption of the normal schedule favors the quote unquote lesser teams. This is being played in Miami, which doesn't mean shit. They have no home field advantage in that stadium. I like the potential chaos of a Friday night. Tens of fans, dozens maybe. I like Friday night potential chaos. I'm gonna go with a team that has lost twice this year, but lost very closely. Once in overtime, once to 3 points against solid football teams, not teams that are necessarily as good as Miami, granted. But I'm going for that Friday night kicker.
Fair enough.
Give me Virginia Tech to beat Miami for my Week 5 Chaos Theory pick.
All right. In good Sloopcast fashion here, I'm going to try to one-up you on this, Jared.
I wonder if this is going to be... I said there were 2 that I liked more than the others. I said that there were 2 I liked more than the others. I wonder if you're about to pick the others. Or the other.
Well, this one's going to be, if they win, would be 20 points. This would be 20 points.
All right. So he's calling the score right away at 20.
This team has played close to one of the top-ranked teams recently here. And last week, they did really well against a MAC team that they really should have here. And the team they're going up against hasn't really played anybody so far. They haven't been tested. So Kentucky has been tested. They almost beat Georgia. They know the kind of game that they're up against here. Ole Miss hasn't really been tested here. So the numbers are inflated here. Kentucky will keep them in check, and it's going to be close and going to put them in position to have a chance to win here. So yeah, my chaos here is the Wildcats upsetting the Rebels.
That was the other one. I said they were
okay.
There. I think there are a few good options. I think SunCard got one of them with Wisconsin USC. There's obviously BYU, which he also mentioned, which I think is a good just like get on the board pick. Minnesota winning over Michigan isn't ridiculous, and that's an okay amount of points.
There's two other games I was kind of interested in. First one is the Clemson and Stanford game. Stanford did have that great win over Syracuse last week, so maybe they could build off some momentum there. But the other game I was kind of interested in here, I'm like, oh, this game could be possibly interesting. Now, hear me out.
Oh boy.
They played...
All the best predictions start with hear me out.
Yeah. The Jaguars did really well last week here. And LSU has been kind of they've eventually put teams away here, but LSU is like, whoa, hold on. What's happening to LSU here? They're kind of struggling a little bit here. So yeah, I think that one could be close at like halftime here. So
yeah, I don't see the Jaguars pulling that off though. I am very quick to hate on LSU. I think they're overrated. I hear you, but this team lost to North Texas and Ohio.
And that's fair. And that's a fair point. Yes. I really wanted to pick Arizona over Utah here, but Arizona's been they're struggling so hard on offense so far this year. Hard. If they had a little bit more fight in them and scored a little bit more points this year, I might have picked Arizona, but you only put up 7 to Kansas State. You only put up 22 to Northern Arizona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think but here, I think we've made our picks. Our picks are on the screen. Those are our picks. But I think what Kyle and I are pointing out when we talk about all these other ones is that there is huge chaos potential this week. And ultimately, the kicker for me, because I looked real long and hard, I think Kyle made an excellent pick with Ole Miss for 20 points. And I almost went with that pick too, simply because it was 1 point more than Miami. That was it. But ultimately, I decided I wanted the Friday night game because I think that schedule disruption just ekes things towards the lower talent team. It's just one more factor that can screw up the normal vibe and can lead to some chaos, right? That was ultimately the tiebreaker for me. But the takeaway here, in my opinion, is there's a lot of chaos potential on the board. And that's not even talking about the fact that number 2 and number 4 are playing each other. Number 15 and number 16 are playing each other. Mm-hmm. Number 20 and number 23 are playing each other. We're going to face some chaos this weekend. Like Kyle, we had to, if anyone who watched the Tuesday show, which is called Collegiate Chaos, we had to shuffle the tier list a lot this week. And I think we're going to have to shuffle the tier list. This is my feeling anyway. I think we're going to have to shuffle the tier list a lot next week again.
All right. That is it. That is our SlooPicks episode here. Hopefully Jared and I can get on the board here for for the chaos theory picks here. So, but we'll see here. But yeah, I think we'll start seeing more and more team chaos happening moving forward.
It's a damn shame none of us got in on any of that Florida State action.
Yeah, it's a shame. We couldn't even pick week 0.
I know that was the bitch of it. Yeah, we didn't do chaos theory week 0. All right. Kyle, do you have anything in Kyle's corner?
I was looking and I can't find anything. I'll be honest.
Fair.
I couldn't find anything.
Listen, Kyle, this is the toughest because like we record this on Tuesday. We just recorded 2 episodes on Sunday. We record 2 episodes tonight. Because if anyone doesn't know, we put out 4 episodes a week, but we only record 2 nights a week. And that's Sunday and Tuesday. Like you guys are watching this on Friday. We recorded it on Tuesday, which is actually a really good reason to join the Patreon because Spikes and Buckeye Esquire and Austin, they get to listen to it now. Y'all have to wait till Friday. The point, however, being $3 a month. It's a good deal. Always be plugging. The point being, I may have lost my point. I maybe don't remember what the point is. No, the point being is that it's really hard to come up with a 4th Kyle's corner in 2 days or 3 days. It's not an easy task. All right, Kyle. Tonight's ending music, once again, brought to you by Mr. Moon. It's a Columbus-based band. Mr. is spelled out, so that is Mr. Moon. So with all that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course, support your local podcasters. Once again, this is Mr. Moon.